Okay, so for our Matisse inspired printmaking project, you're going to have a piece of paper that is about as big as your cutting block or your lino block. Mine is a little different color than yours, but that's okay. You're going to take your piece of paper and cut it into two pieces no matter how you want. It doesn't have to be in half. One side can be bigger, one side can be smaller. It doesn't really matter to me. After you do that, you're going to cut both of these pieces of paper into two different organic shapes. Don't forget what organic means. It means it doesn't have to be perfect. We don't really have to have any straight lines. So just like that. I'm going to do the other one here in a sec. Okay. I don't really like that one as much, so I'm just going to trim it down a little bit more. There we go. So now I have those two shapes. I'm going to take a Sharpie. You guys are going to take a black one. All I have is a silver one at home, so forgive me. But you're going to take a Sharpie and you're going to trace these. Make sure you arrange them so they both fit. And then if you have some extra space, you can go ahead and just make a third shape if you would like. You don't have to though. But I'm going to go ahead and trace these. And it's okay if it's not perfect or if you mark up the paper, because we're going to move on here in a little bit. Okay, now that you have your shapes traced out onto your block, you're going to use one of these. This is what it looks like with the blade in. So we have this sort of U-shaped tip at the end. And guys, this is very, very, very sharp, so be very careful. I've seen so many people cut themselves with it. I've definitely cut myself with it. And so we're going to talk really quickly about safety. When you hold on to this, do not go in this direction, because if you slip, it's going to go straight into your hand. I even see 8th graders who are going like this, pushing in this direction towards their hands. If you need to go in a certain direction, but your hand is in the way, just turn it. Always, always hold on to it with your non-dominant hand and just push away from you, okay? Don't push this way. If you need to curve around, just turn it, push this way. Just always go in front of you, okay? So we're gonna dig that U-shaped tip blade into our lino cut, and we're gonna trace around these shapes. And depending on how sharp it is, you'll have to add some pressure. If it feels like you're pushing down really, really hard, you might just need a sharper or newer tip. So just feel free to let me or Mrs. Edgar know. Okay. But as you can see, this is cutting into the block, and parts of it are coming out, and that's what's going to help us get that stamp shape. So I'm going to do a little bit more, and then you guys will be able to see. I'm stopping in the middle of what I'm doing so I can show you what exactly I am doing. So I first outlined my shape, and now I'm digging out all of the background behind it. So right now I'm outlining this shape, and then just like I did over here, I'm going to cut out all of this stuff behind it, okay? Okay, brush all of this stuff out of the way. Make sure you throw it in the trash cans. This is my finished block. Okay, as you can see, we have all of these gauge lines from my tool, and that's totally okay. I personally like how they look in the print. Some people don't. You can always go back in and make them deeper so they don't show up as much. Or you could take an X-Acto knife and just cut these shapes out, just like we saw with Allison McKean, where she just has the different shapes all separate. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this is called a brayer, And Mrs. Egrin has these cookie sheets for you called slabs. I don't have that here. I'm going to use my jelly plate. It's not what you're supposed to use a jelly plate for. But I'm going to put my ink on here and I will show you how to make a print. Okay, my ink isn't doing it, I think because it's old, so forgive me. But when you go like this, it's supposed to make like this really sticky sound, and that's how you know when it's done. You can also sort of see I have these funny lines. So I'm gonna go ahead and go like this, and then I take my block, and I would put a piece of newspaper or something underneath here. So this is my red piece of newspaper. Okay, so you see I'm rolling in this direction, and then to make sure everything's covered with ink, I roll it, oops, again in this direction. That's why we have that little piece of paper there. Okay, so now my block has color on it, or ink on it, I guess, maybe not color. Okay, now I take my block and I put it onto the paper I want to print on. I don't move it around, but I can press in with my hands. We're just gonna press in with our hands. We're not moving it around, we're just pressing in. And then we're carefully going to lift up. And you guys see that made a stamp. The organic shapes actually turned out a lot better than I thought. Something I would like us to do is to work with color schemes. So instead of just choosing any colors from the cupboard, we're gonna choose colors from specific color schemes, which I'll get into. But that is how you make your Henri Matisse inspired liner cut print. I almost forgot something that I think that would be fun. I want to challenge you guys to do is you don't have to have the shapes all distinct from each other. I think it would be fun if you went in with different colors and overlapped a bunch of shapes. So I just have my silver right now because I don't want to get it out and make another mess. But I think it would be really fun if you overlapped like so. So pretend like, I don't know, like this is a blue, and then now I'm gonna go over it with a purple, and then I'll go over it with a pink or a red for an analogous color scheme. And I could just have all of these different shapes interacting with each other. But don't be afraid to overlap. I think it would be very, very fun. Don't forget when you're done to not only wash your block with water, but also wash out the brayer and then wash out your slab. Good job. Thank you.